So I started working on a new little project today, which is to write up some kind of like thoughts about the Anapanasati Sutta, which is the Sutta on mindfulness of breathing, which I've been talking about a little bit the last couple times I've been on here. It's really a remarkable teaching. I haven't started to think about it in terms of recovery, but I think it gives us potentially like the best meditation guidance that we can have, the most complete and thorough. It certainly takes some time to get to extract, what's in there. It's typically cryptic, and so you have to. So I'm studying it through 3 different teachers who have written about it, and then adding in my own thoughts about it. And so I'm really kind of excited about doing this, and maybe at some point offering a course in Anapanasati. I think I might propose it to Spirit Rock so that I can get the broadest audience for it. Because Venerable Analayo has a book on it, and then Buddhadasa Bhikkhu has a famous book, and then I've been talking about the chapter in the book that Ajahn Pasno has on it that really helped me on my last retreat. So kind of it's fun to get really re-inspired in practice. I think one of the real challenges, and maybe this is a good sort of theme a little bit for a New Year's Eve, is keeping our practice fresh and kind of finding ways to renew it, because it's such a, at least seemingly, a simple thing that we do when we just sit. We try to follow our breath, maybe watch your thoughts, and as you study and you take retreats and practice, you get a lot more nuance and different sort of perspectives on meditation. But, after years and years of it, which many of you have been practicing for years and years, it can kind of fall into, you certainly can go into slumps at best, and real dry periods where you kind of are just showing up. I know I've done that a fair amount over these decades of practice, of kind of just sitting on my cushion because that's what I do, and not really feeling it very much. And that hasn't particularly been where I've been at in the last couple of years, but I also have not had a lot of sort of excitement about my practice, and right now I do, which is really fun. I tend to, I guess for the last couple of years, I've thought of myself as on the back end of my life in a way, and I kind of don't feel that right now. There was some article I was reading about aging, where I realized that, like, I could live quite a bit longer, and I don't have to sort of decide that, it's all like it's like the whatever that it's over, or that it's somehow there's not much of importance left. I'll say one more thing and then we'll meditate. People didn't necessarily come here to hear all this, but I remember being, as a young person, thinking that it seemed really silly for somebody who was 60 to be in therapy, because isn't it too late for you by then to do anything? And then, of course, by the time I turned 60, I was like, oh man, I need some therapy. And I guess the idea that you could still be growing in all kinds of meaningful ways, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, as you're aging, is something that I sort of didn't get when I was young, which is typical of youth, you know, the arrogance of youth, as we say, and the sort of very limited view of life of youth. I was so much older then. I'm younger than that now. Thank you, Bob. And I mean, he was what, like 25 when he wrote that? I mean, that's pretty amazing. Really great line. So, so let's meditate. Let's sit. I got warm talking. It's funny. I felt cold, and I put on my vest and now talking. You know, you get worked up. Dharma makes you warm. So, got the microphone working again, thankfully. Got a new adapter. Hopefully that was the problem. Okay. Yes, rubbing our hands together. Reminds me of Greg, those who have done retreats with this one. He has you rub your hands together and then you rub them on your knees when you're doing the warm up. Yeah. Okay. So, settling into a meditation posture that is conducive to a bright awareness and relaxation. You can close your eyes or just lower your gaze. And so doing that, then feeling your body and how you're holding your body, so that establishing your posture continues for as long as it takes to settle to a place where it feels stable and balanced. And just feeling your body coming into stillness, feeling your body breathing. So that even though you are still, there is also the movement of breath. And just noticing how your breath is right now, whether you're taking longer or shorter breaths, whether the breath is smooth or rough, and not trying to control it or create any particular breath or any experience with the breath. When we really pay attention, we see that the breath is constantly changing. Sometimes there will be space between breaths. Sometimes you'll feel the need for a deep breath. The breath can seem quite mundane. It can also seem quite precious, almost magical. There can be a sense of grasping after the breath. And there can be a smoothness to it, a flow. So with the practice of mindful breathing, we try to bring interest, even curiosity, to all these facets of breath, to all the facets of breath. Essentially, though, to feel it. We are, in some sense, trying to find an intimacy with our breath. We're not holding it at a distance as some object to study under glass, but we are inside it, living it. Yet, even with this close examination of breath, we aren't trying to close ourselves off in some bubble. There's still a sense of openness, of feeling the breath in the body, of feeling the body sitting. Even the sense of being in a particular space, the room you're in. All of that is still there. Maybe sounds in the building or from outside. But always the breath. Mindfulness with breathing. This is Ajahn Buddhadasa's translation of Anapanasati. Usually we say mindfulness of breathing. Mindfulness with breathing. There's awareness of the breath. There's awareness of the body, of the mind, of any emotion or mental state. at the same time that we are just paying attention to the breath, we can also use the breath. We can use the breath to calm the body. Oh, we find that as we exhale, if we soften the body, that can have a settling effect. The breath can also calm the mind. So anytime we find thoughts carrying us away, when we notice that, we just come back to the breath. Let the mind settle with the breath. The breath becomes a kind of companion, a trusted companion, someone who helps us to stay present, to relax, to be awake, clear-minded. Let the breath open you. As the chest rises, the belly rises, let them open. Allowing in whatever wants to come into the heart. letting go of resistance, of fear, of control. Letting yourself be fully alive to this moment. All right. Welcome, late arrivers. People who want to skip the meditation and just get the talk part, maybe. Not that I'm judging anybody. Never do that. Jim, have you got a lot of snow up there? Yeah, good for you.
I was supposed to go to Mexico tomorrow, but I'm snowed in.
Ah, that
So
does kind of suck.
I'm gonna have to wait till Wednesday. Life is tough.
Yeah, that is tough. Wow, yeah, crazy being snowed in Western Washington State. That's not snow country. It's not like Spokane or something where you expect it. All right. Well, I know enough talking about the weather, but I mean, the weather has become not a concern because it's not just, weather anymore. Anyway, Happy New Year, such as it is. Yeah. So I'll get on to the topic of this night, which is right effort. Been working through the 12 steps in my book, One Breath at a Time. And in step 12, there's a section called Breadth of Practice. Yeah. And there's two sections, Breadth of Practice anyway. And one of them goes through the Eightfold Path. And so I have taken that as an opportunity to go through the Eightfold Path little by little. So we've gone through right view, right intention, and then the three sila components, right speech, right action, right livelihood. So that brings us to right effort. So the last three elements of the Eightfold Path are the ones that are associated directly with meditation. And right effort is the first one. And as they say, nothing happens without effort in the Buddhist teachings, kind of a, obvious statement. Although it does, point to the fact that Buddhism is not about faith or anything magical happening. It's about showing up and doing the work, which is certainly very much in keeping with 12-step principles. And I will say that right effort in Buddhist meditation shares the same kind of paradox that is found in the 12 steps. Because in step 3, it tells us that we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God. And so there's this suggestion that, and as the literature goes on to talk about self-will, and that our own will was not enough to get us sober. And that then can lead you into risky territory as far as I'm concerned, because it's like, well, what did, some magic got me sober, or grace got me sober, and you can, it can get pretty, I'd say just confusing. Well, how does it work? What am I supposed to do? And I don't think it's so important to answer the first question, how does it work, as it is the second question, is that you just show up and, as we say, do the next right thing and and if you don't know what the right thing is, then maybe ask around, see if anybody's got some suggestions, think about it, take some time. Don't do something before you, consider why you're doing it, and consider the consequences and consider alternatives. So there's all that kind of very practical stuff to me, and that's that I learned through working a 12-step program. Right effort, the paradox in right effort in Buddhist meditation is more specific in a way, in that on the one hand, we're told that craving, desire are what cause suffering. And at the same time, we're supposed to act in order to let go of, or go beyond suffering. So doesn't that suggest that we are craving something? And specifically, as we're meditating, if we're trying to bring our attention to the breath, for instance, how do we do that without grasping at the breath, without striving to hold on to the breath, to stay there, to keep the mind empty, all the things that we want to have happen in our meditation? How do we do that without grasping? And there's a little phrase I've quoted many times from Suzuki Roshi, the Zen master, from his book Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, where he's talking about right effort, and at a certain point he just says, and that's the secret of practice. But he doesn't say what that secret is. And really what he's saying and what it's about is that it's not something that can be written down. It's not something that someone can tell you how to engage with the breath, how to connect with the breath without grasping. You can only do it through your own felt experience. And you have to experiment. Meditation is experiential. It's not an intellectual experience or an intellectual process. It's one that requires us to step into the arena and start to explore. Okay, I'm going to try to pay attention to my breath. Okay, I can feel it. Oh, wait, now I'm thinking. Oh, wait, I'm supposed to come back. Oh, okay, I'll just come back. Oh, my mind keeps wandering. Well, maybe if I just really get determined, I'm going to just breathe. Okay, I'm getting dizzy now. Wait, I'm like, whoa, I'm hyperventilating. That doesn't seem right. Well, I'll just take really deep breaths. Why is everybody in the meditation hall looking at me? Oh, okay. I guess I'm making a little noise. Sorry, I'm not supposed to do that. So you realize, okay, like I can't just like, I actually did make myself a little dizzy there. Okay, I'm not going to be able to like just force myself to be on the breath, like literally clinging to something. Okay, I've got it. No, I can't do that. Okay, I'm just going to relax and sit back. They said, just have your mind be open and spacious, just settle back, and just breathe. Okay, great. Calm. Oh, wait. Falling asleep. No, wait. Okay, stay awake. Okay, I'm awake. Well, let me just get a cup of coffee before I meditate. Okay, that should take care of what? That's sleep. Okay, drink that coffee. Good to go. Okay. It's so noisy in here. How do I shut this up? Man, this is complicated. They just said pay attention to your breath, and all this stuff gets in the way. What am I going to do? Jesus. I better go talk to the teacher. Teacher, how do I stop my thoughts? Oh, well, it's not really the goal of practice to stop thoughts. Well, you said, let go of the thoughts. I said, let go of the thoughts. I didn't say you have to stop them all. Okay, fine. How do I let go of my thoughts? Well, even that, I would say you really want to change your relationship to your thoughts. I have a relationship with my thoughts. I didn't even know I had a relationship. What's my relationship? Am I married to my thoughts? Sort of, yeah. And then, 5 years later, and like 9 retreats, you're like, oh yeah, it's starting to work. I think I got this a little bit. It just, you just got to do it. You just have to keep doing it. I like the image. I used to use this image more, that we are trying to get to know the landscape of our mind. So to think of your mind as this sort of unexplored territory, I think of like one of those like alien planets that they land on in a sci-fi movie, and it's like, there's like sandstorms and there's mountains and stuff. And you're like, where am I? Okay. And you're mapping it out, and you're going in there every day, and you're trying to, and so after a while, you start to recognize, oh, I know that rock. That's familiar. Oh yeah, that hill. That's from. Oh, there's that that pond. Yeah, I remember that pond. And you start to sort of know the landscape of your mind, and you've learned that, okay, when I get to that rock, if I turn left, there's a nice little group of trees I can sit under. That's cool. If I go right, it's like I fall down into a gully. That's not a good place. So just learn like when different things are starting to happen, I learn that I can use different tools, and I listen to the teachers, I read books, and I start to get a feel for it, so that the practice becomes your own, because it's your own landscape. It's not nobody else's landscape. It's why I always question what I read about meditation instruction. And even as I said, here I am, I'm sitting today with a book by Ajahn Buddhadasa, one of the great Thai masters of the 20th century, Venerable Analayo, maybe the greatest living scholar and present day scholar of Theravadan Buddhism, and Ajahn Pasano. And I'm writing notes, and then I'm going, yeah, but, and I've got like my whole other, like my response and my questions and my like doubts and my own version of all that. Not because, I'm right, but because, and they, they all, I think, in a way, admit this, that they're not telling you what the landscape of your mind is. They're helping you to, build a little, either it's a golf cart or a snowmobile, depending on the weather you're having in your landscape, something to drive around in there, and some tools for, how to, maybe a shovel here and there. Some various tools for dealing with that landscape, and coming to understand it. So it's right effort. It's really fascinating. And the bottom line answer to how do I do right effort? How do I practice right effort? Is mindfully. You need to be mindful of how your effort is manifesting. And, paying attention. Am I trying too hard? Am I not trying hard enough? Am I focusing on the wrong thing? Am I looking in the wrong place? Am I using the wrong tool? Should I, and all of that. So we have to bring mindfulness in to that process, which is true of each of the aspects of the Eightfold Path, which I guess I'll talk about mindfulness on Tuesday. But I'll just step out of this sort of framing and just go to something that's very traditional, which is that the Buddha does give this very specific guidance on right effort, where he says that there are four aspects, classic Buddhist teaching, and that there's a list. There are four aspects to right effort: avoiding unarisen, unwholesome states. So don't try to stay out of trouble before it comes your way, which is kind of, in a lot of ways, that's about our lifestyle, our behavior, the way we live, so that we don't get into situations that a lot of negative stuff comes up. So there's avoiding. And then there's abandoning arisen unwholesome states. So, okay, I was unsuccessful at avoiding, but now that it's here, I can let it go. And I would say that abandoning is kind of the number one activity of meditation, because most of what we do, okay, I try to pay attention to the breath, the mind wanders, I abandon the thought, I come back. Abandon the thought, I come back. So abandoning is kind of like really at the heart of it. So those are the first two. And those both involve unwholesome states. Then the second two involve wholesome states, cultivating unarisen wholesome states. So I'm going to try to bring forth mindfulness. I'm going to try to bring forth concentration. So this is another, obviously, something we do in our meditation. This is where we're really very clear efforting to bring about a result, which is, of course, the risky area, but also the place that allows for possibility to bring up. This is where you do your loving kindness meditation, or your compassion practice, or you're counting your breath, something that you're doing to develop concentration, the cultivation. And a lot of what we do in meditation is cultivation, just getting into your posture, directing the attention to the breath. All of that is cultivation. And then the fourth, almost ran out of fingers, fourth one is maintaining arisen wholesome states. So it's avoid, abandon, cultivate, maintain. So now you've gotten into a good place. The mind has gotten quiet, got comfortable, focused, and now can you sustain that? So that's really challenging, and to maintain the wholesome states. Since everything is impermanent, there's limits to the wholesome, to how long we can maintain. And that's a risky area. Like, people often run into, I was just on a retreat and my mind is so quiet, I'm going to meditate like 4 hours every day when I get home, and I'm going to keep that going. And then like 2 weeks later, it's like, I'm losing my mind, my mindfulness, my concentration. It was so great. And so we say, grasping, aversion. And so we really have to be careful how we approach maintaining. But at the same time, we shouldn't take too lightly things that have arisen. I remember hearing somebody at the end of a retreat, like a 10-day retreat or something, say, boy, after all that meditating, I get home and take a break from all this meditating. I was like, that seems like wrong effort right there, because it's like, you're not going to try to maintain. Like, you should try to maintain, but you just don't stay attached, so, but yeah, no, don't like, I'm just worn out too much, I'll take a break. It's like, okay, well, guess that's what you're after. So right effort, always a challenge. And as I say, coming back to recovery, it's so much the question, when people say like, how do you get sober? What's the secret? Like, going to rehab. It's like, well, I went to rehab, but then I relapsed afterward. What did I do wrong? Well, something was wrong with your effort, right? But what is that? Again, it doesn't quite work to just decide you're not going to drink. That's not quite it. But I think of it as much more like this whole life journey. It's like, oh, I've decided to change my life, and that change is centered on giving up drugs and alcohol, but it's going to involve probably giving up friends, giving up activities, and especially giving up ideas, self-image. It can involve giving up your job. If you're like my sponsor was a wine salesman, you know what I mean? Like that, not so great. I mean, I've known of people who were bartenders who were sober, but not advisable. So, when people say that, oh, what do you need to do? It's like everything, it's like you just have to be willing to change everything. And, so that's some big time right effort, because that's avoiding, abandoning, cultivating, and maintaining all at once. If you're gonna sustain that. But I hope that you are all safely clean and sober and not at risk of relapse. So with that, I have a little time left. I'll open it up for any questions or thoughts or comments. Yeah. Yes, Richie, hi.
Hello, how are you?
Well enough.
Yeah, thank you. Just to quickly share the one thing that, it's amazing how this universe works, because I've been, kind of with my renewed interest in this, going through these old Buddhist books that I have from years ago. And I somehow brought one into the room, which is just what you were talking about.
Who is that?
Venerable Vimalaramasi, Vimalarramsi.
Uh-huh.
Vimalaramsi.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And anyway, and I appreciate you talking about the right effort, because, some of my recent meditation practice, it's from a Taoist teacher, right? And what I've been working on is giving things attention and not intending, like, kind of like having the discipline to be there, and sit, but not like stepping back, relaxing,
not having an expectation of a result. Is that what you're pointing at?
Yeah, not trying to do something.
Yeah, good.
Not like, just not non-governing.
Yeah,
is a good way to put it.
Mm.
And I was seeing in the, as I look into the Buddhist stuff, things like concentration,
mm-hmm.
which makes me think of like a furrowed brow, and like really, I'm concentrating, and so I'm trying to resolve that. But so what you said tonight helped.
Yeah.
I was wondering if there's anywhere in your books that you talk about the 3rd and the 7th step prayer from the big book.
No.
Okay.
I for some reason I just never got really into them. I know that's just me. There is, though, a version of the third step prayer that someone who was on one of my retreats wrote. And it's in the back of my workbook.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'll have to check it out.
yeah. Let's see. It's in the appendix in my workbook. Let's see. Where is it? Somewhere in here, I think. I hope I didn't lie. I was sure it was in here. Maybe it's in a different book.
Well,
yeah, it doesn't seem to be here. I'm sorry. Hope you didn't go out and buy my book. It's in one of my books. It must. Wow.
I'll find it.
Yeah. You know, that's what happens when you write too damn many books. I don't have it in, anyway.
It might be under the 11th step in the workbook.
Yeah.
I think it is.
Oh, yeah, could be. Anyway, you know, this question of concentration, I mean, I'll talk about that presumably next Friday. Oh, yeah, here it is. You're right. I thought it was in the appendix, page 224. I offer myself to the three jewels, which is Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, to learn, live, and be changed by the Dharma. May the teachings be put into practice in my life and relieve my suffering and help to relieve the suffering of others. May the power of the Dharma working in my life be a source of inspiration to others I may help, of the Buddha's wisdom, the Dharma's truth, and the Sangha's strength. May I follow the path always. There you go. From Chris S. But yes, this question of concentration, you know, it does bring forth that sort of image of the furrowed brow, the efforting, and that's certainly not the intent. Right. And so it is very subtle the way we develop concentration, because it requires, once again, mindfulness of your effort and sort of using tools of practice. But, you know, mindfulness meditation isn't primarily about one-pointed awareness. It's generally speaking, and there's a lot more that can be said about this, but more generally speaking about kind of an open awareness. Well, we have a kind of a soft focus on the breath. We're still allowing in other things. So we're not trying to, it's more like if we're trying to concentrate on anything, it's kind of on the flow of experience. And so that's not, there's no furrowing in that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Richie. Hey, Jim.
Hi, Kevin. Hi, everybody. Happy New Year, almost. Anyway, I really appreciated your analogy about sitting down with the mind like an alien planet, exploring an alien planet. You know, it's so hard to keep that level of interest and curiosity in meditation. You know, because it's just like, there I go again. You know?
Yeah.
It seems like very familiar territory most of the time. And
true.
And way too familiar.
Hmm.
And actually recently I did a retreat. I've done a couple of retreats with Analio. And one of the things that he suggests is paying attention to the presence or the absence of the hindrances.
Yeah.
As a way of kind of tuning into where your mind is at any given time, and then maybe using some kind of tools to even things out with those. So I find that a helpful approach. Just kind of, you know, like markers on the road to orient myself. The other thing, I wanted to share another Suzuki Roshi quote about right effort. A student asked Suzuki Roshi, what is right effort? He said, when the wake-up bell rings, get out of bed. And I always love that. It seems a lot like, do the next right thing. And as we talk about in 12-step program.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's great. I was hoping there was going to be something about going to bed then too, but I guess he didn't mention there's no going to bed at the Zen Center. And when the bedtime bell rings, go to bed.
No, you're supposed to stay up all night and meditate.
Yeah, that's right. What was I thinking? Yeah, I mean, the hindrances are a great reference point in practice, and to ask yourself, when you notice something that takes your attention away from the breath, to just check whether it embodies one of the hindrances, because most thoughts are thoughts of either desire or aversion. So that kind of gives you, which for me, one of the things I like about that insight is that it de-dramatizes the thoughts. It takes away, like, it's just desire and aversion. You thought it was a big deal, but it was just that. It just becomes very generic what's happening. And other than that, well, falling asleep, that's a big one. But there was something else I wanted to say. I don't know what it was. Yeah. It passed. But thank you, Jim. I hope you have a great trip to Mexico, and wear your KN95 on the plane, and stay safe.
N95, not KN95.
Oh, you're going all the way in for the N95. Very good. That's better. You're right. The ones I have like, these things on the front that I just, for some reason, I'm not, it's just ridiculous with that kind of self-consciousness. But anyway, I've been wearing my KN. And I don't know. I don't think I have COVID, but I don't know. Any other? It's after that. It's after a little. We're running out of time. Well, I should probably end the evening. But is there anything I can say? I wish I could be better. I'll try to be better this year. I had a difficult day yesterday, and it kind of lingered, and so I'm kind of trying to breathe through it, so I am optimistic, I will say, about the coming year. I believe that we're going to get to a different place with the pandemic. I think we are maybe looking at it turning into endemic. So we'll be getting like just a COVID flu shot each fall, But besides that, we just have to keep the Republicans from taking the Congress. That's pretty much all that I care about right now. And I know some people don't like politics to be in the recovery world, but sorry. It's a problem. Anyway, dears, I will be here on Tuesday, and I will talk about mindfulness, as if you haven't ever heard that. We'll start the year with our focus on Dharma and recovery. I will say finally that one of the things that I'm finding very helpful about working with the Anapanasati, which somewhat I got from Ajahn Pasno, is really noticing my breath throughout the day. It's odd that I never have really done that. And I just have started to do it just in random moments, just noticing my breath, noticing that I'm breathing. It really, it's a great practice, very healing. So safe, healthy, blessings.